Childhood books. Let's just get into it. Is it just me, or are the books I see nowadays in schools lame? Like when I was working with kids, I would look at the library and be noticing the books they're reading do not compare to what I had growing up. And sure, it's just generational bias, but still, the books back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s just hit different. Honestly, what are some of the newer books kids even have? I don't even know. But what I do know is a lot of the classics are still around for these kids, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. When I was in pre-K and kindergarten, one of my favorite parts of the day were when the teacher would read to us. In those times, I was read classics like The Very Hungry Caterpillar, which always made me so hungry when we read it. Like, come on, look at these delicious fruits. And then he would turn into a super colorful butterfly at the end. That was a great book for kids to identify different foods and learn how caterpillars turn into butterflies. It's home ec and science in one. I'm sure everyone knows the infamous rebellion David in the No David books. He's the reason why I would never name my kid David. All the famous Davids I know never listened. And you know he was evil too, because you don't smile like that if you're not intentionally trying to aggravate your parents. Like, look at the stuff he does. And this is only one kid. She either is a really passive parent or truly has a little devil baby. Like, really? What are you doing, David? And then look at that pathetic tear that he sheds just to get what he wants. He knows exactly what he's doing. And after the I love yous, he's gonna do it all over again because he knows those terrible puppy eyes can let him do whatever he wants. I hated these books personally because as a kid who grew up with strict parents, I know none of these would slide without me getting either the belt, the shoe, or the combo for bonus points. Moving on, tell me you guys remember Miss Nelson is Missing. Guys, I loved this book. It was the perfect story. A nice teacher can't control her kids. She brings in a mean substitute that puts them in their place. Plot twist is, she is the mean substitute. Isn't that awesome? When Miss Nelson comes back, the kids learn to treat her nicer. I love that. Sure, the audiobook gave me nightmares, but why did I feel like I cracked the mystery when I found out before that silly detective that it was Miss Nelson all along? She played the mean teacher well. I'm surprised she needed a whole entire witch's costume to be more stern with her kids though. Surprisingly, I still always looked forward to having a substitute teacher. I just liked them. This book, The Little Mouse, The Red Ripe Strawberry, and The Big Hungry Bear. It used to scare me too, because I was like, there's a big hungry bear out there who's going to catch and devour this little mouse, oh no! But I think the point of the book was that the narrator was tricking this mouse into thinking that there was a bear who was trying to eat his strawberry so that the mouse would give the narrator some. But why would you take half a strawberry from a disease-infected rodent? That's my take. Sweet mouse, but I still hate them. I always forget that The Polar Express is also a book, but that's because I'm one of those few people who never really enjoyed that Christmas classic. So yeah, this book can stay in the 80s for me. Sorry. See, I loved this book. I like to think of it as the actual true story of the Three Little Pigs. It's the wolf side of the story, and it makes you feel a little more sympathy for the wolf. Apparently, he was framed. All he wanted was a cup of sugar from his neighbors, the Three Little Pigs. But each time he would come over, his cold would act up and make him sneeze their whole houses down, which in turn killed them. Except for the third pig, of course. The news heard the story and he gets himself some jail time. My thing is, you can eat pigs, just don't eat your neighbors, Mr. Wolf. That's why you're in jail. You weren't framed. Plus, those were the third little pig's brothers. How cruel of you to take away their home and belongings right before you make them collapse to their deaths. I mean, sure, it was an accident, but doesn't make him innocent, okay? I kind of liked it better when all three pigs survived, but maybe that's just me. And then, when we got a little older and started picking out our own books to read for independent reading and at home just for fun, I know what we all grabbed. Do I even have to say anything for this book? I don't care who you are, the only way you didn't ever read or at least know of this book is if you quite literally lived under a rock. Or maybe you were homeschooled and didn't have book fairs. For me, I bought the whole series, at the time, for $30 at our school's book fair. I was so popular after that, I kid you not, everyone wanted to borrow them. I should have charged for the hour. I mean, Greg is iconic. I think we all saw a bit of ourselves in him a little. Just trying to make it through school, bullying, crushes, friends, parents, and annoying older and younger siblings. Even if you didn't like him, there was always something that I could relate to him about. Plus, the books just used to make me laugh so hard I cried. So there was that too. Besides Diary of a Wimpy Kid, there was also Dork Diaries and Dear Dumb Diary. I loved Dork Diaries. I wanted to be the main girl from the book so bad it hurt. Even with her mean bully and her out of reach crush, she seemed to have the perfect life and the perfect friends. Her friends were so supportive, her crush was nice to her and even freaking acknowledged her, unlike every other cliche crush, and her bully never won. I also thought she was so cool and had awesome style. I mean, look at her. For 2009, that's some wicked style. Dear Dumb Diary was more comedic and gross rather than dramatic, like in Dork Diaries. Dork Diaries would have me hooked page after page, whereas Dear Dumb Diary would have me wondering why I was reading a book about such a weird girl and her gross dog. Sorry, I don't remember if she was actually weird, so no hate to her, but what I do know is that they made a movie of the book, and it made her a lot more normal than I remember, or at least the plot more normal. They had some really good songs from the film though, especially this one that randomly gets stuck in my head all the time.
Proceed with caution. My awesomeness is awesome.
Now, I only read these books because my older sister did, but they were still great. Anyone heard of the Geronimo Stilton books? Anytime I hear this song, I can't help but think of this little rodent. My sister loved his wacky family, adventures, and mysteries. I would love to read more of these books, but I was always so caught up in all of the diary books that were popular in 2010. Okay, now a run through of popular childhood books that if you've never heard of, were you even brought up in public school? Starting off, The Rainbow Fish. I used to think this was one of my favorite books, but looking back, they treated the poor rainbow fish horribly. Oh, just because he has special scales, he has to share with the other fishes? Like, how can you be upset he doesn't want to give you what he was born with and what makes him feel good? Like, sure, he shouldn't be so pompous about it, but those other fishes have no right to feel entitled to his own scales. Like, what the heck? Am I the only one who sees a problem with this? Next, A Bad Case of the Stripes. See, now this is a book that deserves to be called one of my favorite books. It was actually good in a very unique way. Camilla, the main character of the book, was changing colors and shapes according to the influences of what others said about her. Once she stayed true to herself is when she got back to normal. Such a positive message done in a really creative way. Good job, David Shannon. Wait, you mean David Shannon, author of No David? This can't be right. Anyways, Harold and the Purple Crayon. Super cool concept. I wish I had a crayon that let anything I draw become reality too. Corduroy. Corduroy's story always reminded me of that Curious George episode when he got locked inside of a mall. I always felt for Corduroy. He just wanted a home, and that's exactly what happens by the end of the story. It's a good read for sure. Chicka Chicka Boom Boom was fun. It was like a little scat of the alphabet. I don't know what was so special about that coconut tree that they were all running to though. Like, was it the only tree? Jeez. Y'all, let me not even get started with there was an old lady who swallowed a fly. Cause she was stupid as frick, man. Like, if you swallow a fly, that fly's gonna die regardless of if you swallow a spider, cat, horse, or whatever else she swallowed. Like, your digestive system is deadly enough. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which was clearly the inspiration for the movie, was a super fun book. Like, I think before watching the movie, reading this book would be great. And we all know the book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. Never really liked him much, even with the hype it got when I was a kid, because the mouse was definitely too entitled. Okay, like, y'all remember Junie B. Jones, right? Yeah, I never got into it as a kid, but man, was it popular. Can anyone tell me what that series was even about? Now, these ones might be a little bit more obscure, but I also enjoyed Mouse Soup and the Frog and Toad books. I started reading these ones in kindergarten, by the way, and yes, that's me bragging, because for some reason, I was just exceptionally good at reading at a young age. There are so many other books I remember as well, but this video is getting to a decent length, like Skippy John Jones, Fancy Nancy, Click Clack Moo, Cows That Type, Captain Underpants, Stella Luna, The Mitten, Brown Bear, What Do You See, The Giving Tree, Love You Forever, Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus, and other Mo Willems books. I especially loved his art style, by the way. We're Going on a Bear Hunt, which for some reason used to scare me. Hashtag I'm a scaredy cat, okay? Where the Wild Things Are, The Snowy Day, Press Here, which I was obsessed with for no reason, very creative, especially for its time. I think I even made my own version. The Day the Crayons Quit, which was hilarious and also creative. Whistle for Willie, Sylvester and the Magic Pebble, We Are in a Book, Lily's Purple Plastic Purse, Harry the Dirty Dog, The Bernstein Bears series, Pete the Cat books, all of the Dr. Seuss books, books that we all know from Cubo and PBS Kids like Babar, Pippi Longstockings, and Arthur, and so many more that I can't even remember or think of. Before I end this video, I want to bring up this one website called Tumble Books that we used to use a lot when I was in elementary school. Did any of you guys use it? Like, it wasn't just my school, right? Tumble Books had a lot of different books that were kind of like animated in this like stop motion type of way. It was free for us and we had to use it a lot when we were in the computer labs. I don't know. That's where I got a lot of my reading done and I enjoy it. It's still functioning, right? Let me see. Tumble. If you can't tell, this part is definitely impromptu. Let's see. Yeah, Tumble Books is still up and running and it looks exactly how it did before. No updates at all. Yeah, and it had a lot of books that I used to read too, like Duck Rabbit, 50 Below Zero, Mercy Watson, The Dot, The Paperback Princess. So many books that I used to read on Tumble Books. I don't know, do you guys know Tumble Books too, or am I the only one who knows about this book library website? Anyways, that's that. Share your list of favorite books down below or any that I may have missed. I love reading you all's comments, so please leave one. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. You're awesome. As for me, I have to get going. Thanks for watching and have an amazing day. From your girl, Day.